Welcome to MacVoices TV. I'm Chuck Joyner, and we are at BlogWorld 2010 in Las Vegas, and we have members of the Mac Roundtable crew. This is sort of becoming a regular thing, as at any conference we all get together and try to crowd into one wide-angle lens.
And then deny it. It's not a wide-angle lens.
It's not as wide as it needs to be, no. So let's let everyone introduce themselves. Don?
Yeah, I'm Don McAllister from Screencasts Online.
I would never have known without the accent. Katie?
I'm Katie Floyd from Mac Power Users.
Allison?
Allison Sheridon of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com.
You did that good. Wow. John?
So
great. John F. Braun, Mac Observer, and the Mac Geek Gab.
And another John?
John Chambers with a 1-minute tip.
And it's so nice to have you, John, since we missed last year. Mr. Hamilton?
Dave Hamilton with the Mac Observer, the Mac Geek Gab, Backbeat Media, and that's enough.
No, the big one.
Go ahead.
Huh?
Tell them
The big one.
Which big one?
TMO.
I said the Mac Observer.
Oh, did you? I missed it. Okay.
Say it again.
All right.
That's Chuck.
I missed it.
Is that Mac Observer?
That's right.
It's
It's Mac Observer, yeah.
Wait, is that feedback at Mac?
Yes, it is.
Jeez. Okay. The first thing we want to cover, and we need some honesty here, so I'm going to go to Dave, was Allison really singing last night?
Oh,
Did you hear about
stop.
this?
He wasn't there.
Oh, Dave.
I can speak with complete honesty and say I don't know.
Well, who was there? Katie?
I don't know what
You're an officer of the court.
Yes.
You can speak honestly.
I think, no, we don't need to speak of that.
I plead the fifth.
But I hear it's going to be on YouTube.
Well, if we can
It
get
was Gene's fault. Gene started it.
If we can get this, we will splice it in. But guys, how's the show been? Don, you were a speaker here last year. This year, you're here just as an attendee, and you come a long way.
Yeah, well, I thought it was worth the trip. Excuse me. Yeah, I thought I'd take the year off this year and not speak, so I've sort of been observing. I have been part of the digital broadcast committee, though, so I've been sort of seeing what's been going on, and it's been quite informative. It's a lot more integrated this year than it was last year. It was very much bloggers and podcasters last year, whereas I feel this year now it's very much more. There's more integration. And a lot of the blogging sessions apply just as much to the podcasting sessions than just to bloggers. I mean, I picked up some great tips on CSS and some other bits and pieces from some blogging sessions from a website. So it's been really valuable. Mm-hmm.
And Dave, you're the speaker, I guess, in the group you and Gene McDonald presented yesterday. How about it from your side? Well, you haven't spoken yet.
Oh, okay.
So.
Yeah, I did. It was at 12:15 a.m.
Yeah, and Don and I were both on the digital broadcasting committee as we put things together. And you're right that things are more integrated, but I think it could be even clearer that things are more integrated. We've got these tracks that kind of go this way. I think we need some lateral stuff too, because like you said, CSS was in the real estate blogger track, but that doesn't. But clearly, real estate bloggers are the only people that need to worry about CSS, right? No, it's true. And even the session that Gene and I did on getting sponsors for your podcast, 90% of that is relevant for your blog, for insert medium here, and we easily could have retooled that session to make it work across all mediums. So yeah, it is better integrated, and I hope next year we see it move even a step forward from that.
John, you were here last year, and unfortunately there was a scheduling mix-up, and you didn't get to join us on the roundtable. But
we scheduled telling him after it happened.
Oh, was that it? Okay.
I remember
Okay.
It was like Allison's workshop. It was last night at midnight, not noon.
Were you at Allison's workshop at midnight?
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah, there was lots of singing and karaoke and.
Oh, you were a witness to this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I guess not.
I know. I must have dreamt it. It didn't really happen. So.
No. How about the show from your perspective?
It's very interesting. Yeah, there does seem to be a divide. There seems to be the podcasters on one side, the bloggers on the other, and it would be nice to see a little bit more of the bonding together. Like, for instance, with your discussion, it'd be great if you had a podcaster and a blogger at the table talking about both sides of the coin and compare notes and those types of things. I think it would work out really, really well. It's like, we teach color theory at my school, and they always teach it in digital form and a traditional form. It's like, don't do that. Put them together. It's color theory. It should be talked through the same way. So, yeah, but good sessions that I've been to so far.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed it.
Katie, I know you obviously you're a podcaster. Do you consider yourself a blogger too?
I'm working on it. I'm trying to be more of a blogger. So that's kind of, I've been sneaking in on some of the blogging tracks, and I've found a lot of great tips here that I think will translate both to podcasting and blogging, because most podcasters do have a blog component to their podcast. You really do, kind of as a way to publish your feed. So I think a lot of podcasters are in some degree bloggers, and maybe could be even more as a way to promote their show and promote their band or brand. So I think there's a lot of crossover. So I found a lot of great information here, and it's my first BlogWorld, and I think I'll be back.
Good. That's nice to hear. Yeah. John, you got in
Yes.
a little late, but, you seem to have spent some time on the floor. What do you think?
The floor is larger. That's good. The things that I've seen that caught my attention, oddly enough, have really nothing to do, I think, with either podcasting or blogging. Like Lexar has a nice printing scanning device. Western Digital has some media sharing devices. I guess I got to, I'll be the wet blanket here. I didn't see, whereas at the New Media, when it was the New Media Expo, we saw things that were, exclusively of interest to what I'll call the podcast crowd. And to your point, John, I still think there is somewhat of a divide, but I don't see any microphone vendors or recorder vendors or things that deal exclusively with audio and things that are of concern to the podcast world. And I got to say, I think naturally there is a divide. It's well, on the one hand, you're producing content for consumption, but I think there are nuances to the different worlds that could be addressed. So again, they got the larger floor. That's great, especially in these trying economic times. And there is stuff of interest, not as much as I would have hoped. I did go to one of the sessions. I guess I wasn't too happy with it. Maybe I just picked a bad one there, but it was critiquing podcasts. First off, they were all video, and maybe it's just my mind, but in my mind, I think audio only. And certainly a video podcast has an audio component, right?
Wave to the camera, John.
Say hello, John.
Podcast or video?
No, I know that. But anyways, no, there was one about critiquing podcasts, and I don't know if I got a lot out of it because they played a couple of minutes and then said things that, I think you have to give each thing more than a couple of minutes in order to be able to effectively critique it, so...
Okay, the moment we haven't been waiting for. Allison?
It kills you to give me the mic, doesn't it?
It really does, because I won't get it back. Seriously, I forgot that you're a speaker because you haven't spoken yet, so I haven't sat through your session and seen you behind the podium. So how much are you looking forward to it, and what have you learned maybe from some of the other sessions you've sat through that has made you change your upcoming session?
Well, my talk is going to be on accessibility, so it's how to increase your audience through accessibility, and my angle is going to be the greed side, right? We all want more audience, and if you add up the number of deaf and blind people together in the world, it's more people than are on Facebook. You want a piece of that action, here's what you do to get some of that. Wave to the camera. But so I won't, I am going to be doing both, so I will be pulling it all together. I didn't actually see anything that would make me change the way I was doing it, but what I thought was interesting is how many of us really liked the CSS stuff. Like, I know what the difference is between margin and padding now, and I've always looked at that going, ooh, I don't know, but the woman put up a thing, she did a graphic that said, this is margin, this is padding. Margin is outside of the border and padding is inside the border. I got it now, and it seems so simple, but it's like, God, that's always bugged me. As far as the sessions are concerned, I have been to a couple that are really good, and at the risk of embarrassing Dave, I know he does not like to be the center of attention either, but Dave and Gene's session on how to get work together with a vendor to get advertising was really good because it was an interesting balance. They both have very, very different styles of speaking, but they showed the other perspective. What Gene is looking for from Smile when she's looking for someone to advertise with, and Dave got a lot of good tips about how to interact with your supplier that I hadn't really thought about. The main one being, call them up, talk to them, converse with them once a month or whatever. Make sure you're having that conversation to continue that relationship. And I don't actually do that. Like you said, it doesn't count as communication to send them a bill. There's other aspects to that, apparently, and so I guess I want to take up my game there. Yeah. The biggest thing I got out of the whole session was I don't do a newsletter to tell people my podcast is out. Now, mine's regular like clockwork, but still, I think I could suck more people in if they were getting that content through a newsletter. So that's my number one objective.
That's Don's trick.
Yeah.
Don's the king of that.
Yeah, you started that not all that long ago, didn't you?
Yeah, I sort of did one a while ago and I sort of stopped it, but now I do it. People still think of email as an old technology, but it's something that a lot of people use as their primary means of communication, and Although RSS is great and it just drops into iTunes automatically, not everyone checks their iTunes feeds to see when a new episode's in. And like Allison, it's fairly regular. But even though, and again, my sort of show, it's not applicable to everybody. Everybody won't want to see the same, the show every week. So they use the newsletter as a quick way of saying, oh, it's about this week. Okay, I'll skip it this week. But I'll wait for the next newsletter and then pick that up. And then 6 months down the track, oh, he did do a show about that 6 months ago because I got the newsletter, and then they'll go back and they'll pull it. So it's a really useful tool to keep people informed. Yeah.
Okay, now I know our watchers and listeners are very intelligent people, and they're going to have caught something Allison said that we ended up talking about last night. You said blind and a blind and deaf audience. Right. And for podcasters, that sounds a little strange coming out of your mouth, and you had to explain it to us. And after you did, it made perfect sense. Give us the 30-second version out if you can.
So I have I do my show as a script, so I actually read off of the script, and so I decided to take my script and post it as my blog post. So I've got like a 700-page blog post every week, and what I found out was that deaf people go and read my blog because they can't hear my podcast, so they get my content without being able to hear me. But my final chart, my presentation is that I was contacted by a deaf-blind guy who reads my blog using a Braille reader, and I'm making a difference to that guy. I was in a session where they asked us all to turn to the guy next to you and tell him about what was your biggest traffic day. I said, my biggest traffic day was the day that one guy wrote to me and said, you're making a difference to me. I was like, I'll do this forever just for that guy. I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah. It just, when you said it last night, it's like, that seems a little strange, but then it makes perfect sense after a while. How many of you were in the State of Podcasting session before yours, Dave? Sat through that.
Tom Webster.
Yeah. I found something really interesting. One of the things he said was the number of people that listen to shows like all of us produce, but they don't subscribe to them. They do it either in iTunes or on our respective websites or whatever. Was that a surprise to you?
Well, yes and no. I know that that's true for most podcasts. It's not true, certainly for or the one that John and I do for the Mac Geek Gab. Most of our listeners are subscribers, but I know that's actually a rarity, and it's because our podcast is a techie podcast, so it's the techies that are going to subscribe and do that, and that's fine. I mean, consume the content however you want, but yeah, it is interesting. When I first learned that, it was an interesting little, okay, yeah.
Mine's 50-50.
Yours is 50-50?
50-50, right on the nose. I've got half is from the web and half is from iTunes. It'll go 45-55, it swings back and forth, but it's dead center.
John, you produce a lot of different topic podcasts, so you most of them are techie, I think, if not all of them. Yeah, right. But how do you see anything in that regard? Did that surprise you to hear that?
I was very surprised by that. Yeah, in the whole thing with having an iPhone where you don't subscribe, you just get a show. And I always think with the 10 meg limit on a Wi-Fi that some of the longer shows, it's a little late. So, but to be able to download, so my shows are always short, so I never really gave it much thought about how, oh, you mean they're not subscribing, that they're able to just click and listen to the show? I guess I hadn't really given a whole lot of thought.
I think everybody came out of that thinking something new and different that maybe we really hadn't realized before. And Dave, you're right, everything here is techie, so.
Yeah. But to be fair, it could, I assume that the reason most people, and it's 80-20. I mean, it's not 100% that subscribe, but I assume that's because we have a techie audience. It could very well be because, our website sucks and people can't listen to the show. Yeah, but seeing that number and actually hearing you say it's 50-50 makes me think, well, I shouldn't just take all these assumptions. We should, always look at, okay, could we improve the experience on the web? And if so, well, is that going to help us? And it certainly isn't going to hurt. So
I think it's slightly different. It's slightly different as well for video, because video files are quite large. Sometimes streaming video is problematic, so some people like to just download the video and then watch it. Even if they don't subscribe, they can download it separately and keep it, to refer to. That's right.
Well, I wonder, one thing is, what I see as a glaring shortcoming that Dave and I have tried to help people solve this, and maybe you can help me identify the piece of software here, but one thing that is a glaring error still in iTunes is if you don't listen to something for a while. And there's several things that I'll listen to on occasion, is you'll get this stupid little exclamation point, and it says, I know better than you, I'm not going to download this anymore because I don't think because in my opinion, if you're not listening to it, then it's not important to you anymore. And sometimes it is. And I know we found a piece of software. Was it Doug's?
You got it.
Doug's Apple Scripts. They have something that'll dig into the guts of iTunes and convince it not to put up this stupid message. So you continue to get
But
them.
again, that's techie. That's more techie. I mean, you have to get. It's not
Okay.
your general
Maybe
audience,
it's not
and
a
that's
problem.
like.
I don't think it's a problem. I mean, I listen to Don's when I'm looking for a specific topic, so I'll get the exclamation point on Don's, and they go, okay, it's time to check. Because if you're not watching Don's and you're downloading all of Don's, your hard drive's gone, because of the size. So I like it because you can always just push it, and then the little get buttons come up, and you get the old one. So to me, it's not a problem. I get it when I want it. I don't think it's a problem.
But that requires maintenance. Yeah, and that's.
See, I don't listen to podcasts regularly. I listen sporadically, and so everything for me goes exclamation point. But then I have to remember to run the little Apple script and then sync my iPod before I get into the car for a long trip, and that's a drag. So
Right, but the other problem is if you didn't get the exclamation points, your iPad would be filling up, or your iPod would be filling up with content that you might not be
No, you can
listening
expire.
to.
No, I mean, I'm the same because I can't listen to stuff or watch stuff on the computer. I just can't do it. That's where I work. So everything is on the iPod. And, when the exclamation mark kicks in, it's not on my iPod and it's a extra management task. So,
Katie, we're talking about tech, but I'm not always sure I think of you and what you and David do as tech. You're Mac Power users, and so you're more workflows, you're more really how to get things out of software and procedures. Does that make any kind of difference to you?
I think according to our numbers, about 90% of ours are at least coming through iTunes, whether they're subscribed or through downloads, and about 10%. So I'm kind of with you, Dave. And again, that makes me wonder, are we not doing as good a job on our website as we should? But most of our stuff is coming through iTunes. And again, that was a big key to this conference is don't just rely on iTunes. Don't throw all your stuff on iTunes. Of course, us being Mac podcasters, I think regardless, a huge portion of our people are going to come through iTunes. And the other thing is, I think perhaps to a greater degree than Dave's or than Allison's maybe, maybe Don and ours are very topical. We'll have a huge number of people who will go, this one but not this one, this one but not this one. So we kind of have a baseline, and then it, will up and down depending on the topic or the person that we have. So some of that's to be expected, and it's nice to get some validation that that's normal.
yeah.
So
I've actually seen people tell me that they read along. Since mine is a script, I mean, it's word for word, so they'll listen on the web and read along. I'm like, really? Because that way they can, because I put all the links into everything I'm talking about, so I think they click the links and go over and look at it while I'm talking about it, and they put that together. It's really...
you need to borrow the bouncing ball from Sing Along with Mitch, put it in the video, and you're good to go.
Nice.
Took it right out of my mind.
It's really a bad idea, driving.
Okay, we all have sessions to go to or give, so I want to, though, ask everyone one other thing that, and Omaha Sternberg pointed out last night, that there is a little bit of a conflict here in one area. One session was questioning whether internet radio is dead, another one was saying, streaming is the future, live streaming is the future. I think, Allison, you do a live show. Anybody else here do a live show?
I've done the occasional.
Okay, so Don's done the occasional. How do you all feel about the necessity of doing a live thing versus the download for later consumption? I personally, I'll get my opinion first in. I think it's an on-demand world. I want to listen when I want to listen, where I want to listen, how I want to listen. I don't want to be tied to my computer at 7 p.m. on Monday night. That just doesn't turn me on. Dave?
Yeah, so I think both are really important, and I say this with full admission that we don't do a regular streaming show, but that I believe that's going to change, and the reason is it is a great place. It is a great way to foster more community. Yes, you're delivering the content, and yes, it's a two-way street. We've got people emailing in, but that immediacy and like Allison pointed out, or will point out. Having the community interact with each other is a huge thing, and you miss that when you're not catering to that. So,
John? I guess with me, because my content is so short, it doesn't really 1 minute. Say in the 1 minute tip, getting an audience together would probably take a half an hour, 45 minutes to do 1 minute, and then everybody would sign off. So it really, in my case, doesn't work. We're also from a TiVo kind of family where we don't try to get to the television to find something or see something at a certain time. Everything is pre-recorded, and we sit down when we want to watch it. So for me, being from a TiVo world, it doesn't work for us at all. Yeah.
John, did you know you were soon going to be doing a regular live streaming show?
I absolutely did not, Chuck. No, actually, we've done it on occasion. So Dave and I have done Ustream. That it includes a video component, which I don't know if I'm that crazy about personally. Well, I don't know. It introduces some technical challenges. What I do like when we do,
coming after you,
it's something I constantly have to deal with Allison. So. But no, what I do like about the Ustream when we do it and we announce the live show is the chat room. So we get the immediacy, so I can see that.
And we are regular. And also we do the show at a set time.
That's probably too much information, Dave.
We're sharing.
Glad he took it.
Okay.
But I'm also with John here in that, I'm, and I think most of us are TiVo fans, is that I on the one hand, I hate being tied down, at least for a television show. I mean, I think the only type of television show, if I was a sports nut, is I'd want to consume sports live. Otherwise, it's spoiled by everybody announcing and stuff. Other things, I want to choose when I want to consume it. So I am surprised about the thing about radio, because from what I understand, now are we talking like radio stations?
That was the name of the session. I did not.
Oh, all right. Because I know a lot of people that really like Pandora, which my understanding that's streaming radio, and I'm probably still one of the few people in the world that still listen to the radio in my car. No, it's great.
I need to go the last one.
You're him.
Could be.
You're it.
Actually, they said only 6% of people have connected like their iPhone to their car. So you're in the majority, actually.
Yeah, no, I like the spot, or I guess just the mix. It's I think CBS 101. They still have that out on the East Coast, and I like it for just different rock music. So I guess that's what I got to say.
Thank you, Allison.
So I think what you guys might be missing about the live show is it has nothing to do with listening or watching the show. That is not a component of it at all. It turns out the people tell me that on my show, they listen to it later. They don't listen to it while I'm doing it. It's more about talking to each other, and it's like I'm an excuse for them to get together at 5 o'clock on Sunday nights at podfeed.com/live. But they. But no, they do it. They get together, and like when we were on vacation, they found out that Steve Stanger was doing a live show at 5 p.m. On Sunday night, and they all went to his show to talk to each other. Now, I mean, that's cool for Steve. That worked out for him. But so did we. Steve and I were in a airport in Chicago. I wasn't even listening to him. I was just in the live chat talking to other people. So they've built themselves into this community. They call themselves the NoCilla Castaways. I mean, they got shirts and stuff. They're really, really into talking to each other. And part of it's also seeing the sausage get made. It's like being allowed to be backstage, because you see me flub up my lines. I say totally wrong things, and then, Connor will come up and go, Allison, you're a moron, here's what you did wrong. Okay, fine, I'll back up. Twice I did an ad for Honda Bob where I said he bought a Pilot instead of I got the car wrong, and so I had to re-record. But the live audience is there to help me, and they correct me, or I'll say, hey, this doesn't work like this, and they'll go, yeah, it actually does. So they get to help build it, and it's not about listening to the show at all. They listen to the show the next day.
So that's the reason to listen to her show, folks, is to help her build it, because she needs all the help she can get.
It takes a village.
What was that show again?
Yeah.
It was the NoCillicast podcast, hosted at podfeed.com. Feedback at macgeekgab.com.
You'll pay for that, John.
I know.
Katie?
I have mixed thoughts about this. Initially, I was very much with John Chambers, and that it's a TiVo world. I can't tell you the last time I watched a show other than a sporting event or something that was very topical live. But I did Allison's show when she was on vacation. It was an absolute riot. With the people, and it's all about building community. And those are her most loyal fans. Those people aren't going anywhere. They're going to bring their friends. She's building her podcast. So it's a really great way to build the community. And one of the speakers said something. He said, if you make your content such that it never expires, you don't give them any reason to listen to it anytime soon. So I thought that was interesting to think about. You give them a reason to keep delaying it, but I mean, obviously part of that's later turns into never. So part of that's interesting. So I don't know. It's something that we're going to think about. I don't know. Is it one of those things you can do occasionally? I think it's maybe one of those things that you have to do kind of on a schedule. Maybe not every show, but maybe on some kind of regular schedule. It's something I'm going to think about. It's something people have asked us about. Of course, the logistics of it are time zones. With David and I'm on the East. I'm on the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast, right?
I think
I am. Okay. I'm on
the West Coast right now.
I'm on the West Coast right now. I'm on the East Coast. He's on the West Coast, so we've got that 3-hour time delay, and then just international time zones, because you can't pick a time that's convenient for everybody. Allison's got the weekends cornered, so
just Sunday night.
Podcast with a cliffhanger.
Picking a spot is tough.
And Don, you do occasional live shows, you say, but you are in the UK, so that introduces a whole another set of issues for you, for your US audience.
Yeah, time zone being the main thing, but we can work around that. I mean, the shows that I have done live have been specifically to do with prize giveaways, and that's great for live because, you know, it's a live prize draw and people were really excited about that. I mean, it takes me 3 days to create my show, so I don't think I'd get that many viewers over a 3-day long live session, and I'm not sure if I'd want to actually be exposed for 3 days live on the internet. You know, you never know, you know, you just forget about it, wouldn't
like
you?
Justin TV.
Yeah. But people would like to see that, actually. People have said, you know, they'd like to actually see me doing some of the editing process and stuff like that, you know. So, yeah, I toyed with the idea of doing a regular live show, but sort of, I think it needs to be appropriate, and for the sort of the style of show that I do, it's not at the moment, although, you know, Q&As and stuff, I'm sure I could do something along those lines. So I'm sort of mulling it over, really, whether or not I want to get into it regularly. But it's definitely the way it's going, yeah. And the technology is there now as well. There's lots of free technology that you can use to broadcast live, and some premium services as well, which give you, you know, guaranteed bandwidth, etc. So yeah, it's very easy to do these days.
And Dave, especially with regard to the live show, something you said yesterday about getting sponsors for your show, that you're advocating publish on a consistent basis. And so a live show just introduces that in spades.
Well, it can. I mean, it's up to you to get the show out after you've done it live, right? I mean, you know, because I'm sure even with you, the majority of your listeners are not there live with you. And that's something, as a host, kind of had to learn the hard way. You know, the first live show we did was lots of interaction and, oh, wait a minute, no. You know, there's 99.9% of our listeners are not here in the chat room, so continue to cater to them. But back to the schedule, absolutely. If, you know, what Tom Webster said about if your show is if it's expirable, you know, later becomes never, or not expirable, later becomes never. But I think the way around that is to release on a consistent schedule so that Tuesday morning can be the Mac Geek Gab morning, and that's when people listen in their car on the way to work, and they count on that.
It's already a Monday morning.
I know. Yeah, we got that. Yeah. We gave that up years ago because we knew you were coming. So it's good. That's good. But you know, that sort of thing. And it doesn't matter if we do the show on Monday and they choose Friday as their Mac Geek Gab day. That's okay, just as long as by whatever their day is, they've got the content they want. And skip a week here and there, you're okay. Skip 3 weeks, they're going to find something else because they want that time filled. Be it the commute to work, the time at the gym, my kids are going to ramble at me, so I'm going to put in earphones and ignore them. Whatever time that is and whatever they're going to do with it, it's important to make sure you're there for them because they're there for you.
That's great. Well, guys, we're going to wrap it up. So for Dave Hamilton, John Chambers, John F. Braun, Katie Floyd, Don McAllister, and Allison Sheridon.
Hey.
I'm Chuck Joyner. This is the Mac Roundtable on MacVoices TV. We're at BlogWorld. We wish you were. Thanks for listening. Group hug?
Group hug.
Group hug.
Ow!
Don't fall over.
We should
MacVoices TV is part of the MacVoices group and a member of Mac Level 10.